T-shirts available on our website. Go to britishstand.com or check the link in the description. And hello everybody, welcome back to British Stan, guys. I am Dan, and today we're going to be discussing the Labour civil war that has erupted as, of course, some Labour MPs have publicly came out and turned on Keir Starmer over the risks of damaging the US ties over military spending delay. Of course, we're going to unpack this story, tell you all the details that you need to know. But as always, guys, you do make these live streams, so do get involved in the comment section. Get involved in the live chat if you're watching this live, and we'll be bringing up some comments a bit later on in today's stream. But as always, let's get into this story and go over why Labour MPs have publicly came out and criticised and turned on Keir Starmer. Here we go. So, Labour-owned MPs have warned Keir Starmer that a failure to boost military spending could put the special relationship with the US at risk. Starmer is expected to delay bringing defence spending up to 2.5% of the GDP until after 2030, the Times revealed earlier, a cut below President Donald Trump's current expectations. Prior to his return to the White House last week, Trump was understood to be approaching NATO allies with a demand of 5%, except 3% line on military expenditure as a part of the alliance. So, obviously, Trump has got these expectations. Starmer, of course, is delaying, but going to be going under the requirement that Trump wants by 2030. And a Labour quartet of MPs, Luke Akehurst, Dan Carden, Tan Desi, and Luke Pollard, have all come out publicly with statements calling for a spending boost and going against their leader, Keir Starmer. So this is what Desi had to say. Of course, the committee chairman, he said that the cost of fighting a war is significantly higher than providing a credible deterrence force. While the Liverpool Walton MP, Dan Carden, said, the simple reality is to build strong alliances, we must maintain and build our autonomy. To maintain a good relationship with the United States, we will have to spend more on the defence. Now, in terms of Luke Pollard and what he had to say with regard to it, he said about the statements from Carden and Desi that they were absolutely right and that deterring a war was cheaper than fighting a war. And though he failed to mention a date on Pollard, said Labour has a cast iron commitment to bringing defence spending to 2.5% of the GDP, adding that the government has inherited a falling morale, a retention and recruitment crisis, mouldy broken homes that our service personnel live in, and hollowed out and underfunded military from the Tories. So again, these guys have come out publicly in terms of the Labour MPs turning on what Keir Starmer's decision is with regard to this, stating that we could put our excellent relationship or a special relationship with the United States at risk if Starmer doesn't fulfill what Trump's demands are by the 2030, which is closer to 5% rather than 2.5%, and delaying it till 2030. So Labour MPs have came out and turned on Keir Starmer's decision to do so publicly. Not only that, though, the Tories have, of course, came out as well, backing up these Labour MPs that have turned on Keir Starmer and actually stated that the decision is a green light to adversaries and a slap in the face to our armed forces. The default setting of Starmer's government is to pivot away from the United States. All things are possible if there's the political will to do it. So again, the Tories, of course, backing those Labour MPs that have put out public statements and has stated that, of course, Keir Starmer doesn't have the interest in getting closer to the United States and actually wants to distance themselves away from the United States. And now, in terms of other, Williamson has also warned at the state of our military at this moment in time that we once were top in the area, and I still currently do believe that we are a top military, and I'll touch upon my experience in the military a bit later on. However, he stated that we are falling way behind everybody else in the bloc in terms of the European Union, in terms of standards and the funding into our military at this moment in time. But, of course, the Labour MPs have turned on Keir Starmer's decision to delay this spending and not meeting Donald Trump's, of course, requirements. So a bit of a civil war going on there with regard to this defence budget and this defence spending, whereas other spokespeople have came out and stated that the military is in a really, really bad state at this moment in time and needs that extra funding, and stating that we do face multiple threats. Now, again, anything of the military is, of course, not just to fight wars. Again, people may be passionate on this subject, but also to act as a deterrent. We've got to have the best in class military, and for many years, for the dawn of time, Britain has always had the best military in the area. Maybe not the strongest in terms of personnel as how many we've had, but in terms of the quality, the training, and all these kind of things, we've always had a very strong military. However, of course, insiders do believe, and I can give my opinion on it a bit later from my time, is that we are falling very far behind, and of course that has to be that spending, and Labour MPs are calling for Keir Starmer to not put at a risk of damaging our US ties over the military spending delay. So they are calling for this and want it to happen. On this subject, for those of you that don't know, I did serve 5.5 years in the British military, and by the time I was getting out, there was a lot of unhappiness in terms of the recruitment drive of actually getting people in. Retention rates in the military themselves were always really bad. You know, the perks, maybe when my grandfather were serving for this country, there was a lot more perks, there was a lot more things and reasons to stay in the military and join the military, but they are really facing a crisis at this moment in time with trying to get, one, people in through the door, two, keeping them to stay. The lack of housing, the housing state is absolutely disgusting as well, but also there is a huge problem, not to mention that we are putting at risk our ties with the United States, because the Conservatives are doubling down and stating that's what Keir Starmer wants. So people are stating with inside that this is a situation that Keir Starmer has the power to do this, but it's not at the forefront of his mind, and the Tories actually going out and saying that he wants to more damage the relationships with the US and take a step back away from the US and actually come a bit closer to the EU. So take of that what you will, but again, from someone that served before, it's in dire straits. I hate to admit that and say that about my country's military, but it is in dire straits at this moment in time with regard to everything across the board in the British military. Obviously, the quality of the personnel and the soldiers is obviously top notch. The training is great, but of course, all of the other stuff that goes in and around it has been neglected. And of course, whilst we're not in a business to fight wars at this moment in time, a deterrent, a strong military should always be there to act as that deterrent. And more so as well, we want to be close to the United States. We want this relationship to be strong with the United States. And fair play to those Labour MPs that have turned on Keir Starmer's decision, because we see them always being whipped into line with what Keir says. So it's good to see them coming out from his own party and actually publicly challenging him, and hopefully, of course, trying to get this U-turn to happen. Now, guys, I'm going to go take some chats, guys. Let's have a little look in the live chat, guys. I hope you're all well. Do get involved in the live chat if you are. We've got a couple of super chats, so big shout out to all of you that have donated. We've got Killer Kriegsman. He says, give this man some support. Guys, I'm happy with just liking the video. That's absolutely amazing. Just get involved in the comments. I absolutely love it. You don't have to donate or anything like that, but big shout out to you for donating, firstly, with that super chat. Secondly, you also did donate again, so big shout out to you again. Another £2 donation saying keep up the great work. Thank you so much. Again, this is a story that's fairly pretty niche in terms of the military, and people may not have the full understanding of why it's so significant. Of course, not to patronize, of course I did serve, so I do understand it a little bit more in terms of the average person as such. But of course, this is a truly troubling thing. Of course, we want to be close to the United States in every aspect. And we've had a special relationship to the dawn of time, well, since over 100 years ago, with being the US's main ally. And we don't want to jeopardize that by Keir Starmer's decisions going forward. So it's good to see that there's a bit of a revolt inside the Labour Party. It's good to see the Conservatives are, of course, trying to push Keir Starmer to actually make some action and actually, of course, not delay this defence spending, because it's absolutely imperative. Let's take some more comments here, guys, as well. Crazy Jake UK says Starmer is being played by Trump. Well, we've seen Starmer, of course, come out fairly recently with regard to the phone call that he had with Trump and said it was all very, very positive. And we actually seen Trump's statement actually speaking. He did discuss their differences in terms of Donald Trump and Keir Starmer, but he also stated that he's doing a very good job. And as I said, I don't know if this is more of just trying to manipulate Keir Starmer a little bit. We don't quite know. However, of course, it is one of those situations where he did come out publicly and state that he's doing a good job, which left a bit of distaste in a lot of people's mouths within the United Kingdom. But again, a lot of people do think it was more of a, pushing him into a corner so he can't say any bad words about Donald Trump, and actually he's playing 4D chess by saying those things about Keir Starmer, because there's no way on earth that I believe Donald Trump and Keir Starmer, or Donald Trump thinks that Keir Starmer does a good job and likes the way that he runs this current country. So I'm not all for that. Let's have a little look at some more live chats, guys. Let's see what everybody else is saying. America has never won a war without the help as a real American, Native American nation. I can tell you that is fact, and it's correct. You could say true. I mean, the United States and the UK have always been really, really good allies. Whether you agree with the wars that the UK, or the conflict, should I say, that the UK backed America with, maybe Iraq, Afghanistan, all of these kind of things, always kind of controversial, these debates. But the US has always had that strong alliance with the United Kingdom. We've always kind of followed suit with regard to what they're doing. Whether you agree with that or not is another subject. But of course, to keep this allies, we need to meet those demands that Donald Trump is putting in place. And in terms of the defense spending in general, away from just getting closer to the United States, but also our need for spending within the military is something that is necessary. Again, I have still a lot of friends that are still serving, and they are always telling me how bad, of course, the military is currently at this moment in time with inside. That it's a lot of people are leaving, they can't retain the troops, they can't. They're living in squalor, which is absolutely disgusting to hear. Living in squalor, of course, not being able to recruit so much anymore. That's why you saw those crazy ad campaigns about accepting snowflakes and all this kind of stuff. Again, it does need a lot more spending, and it needs a lot more funding. Not to say that we're talking and going to fight in wars, but of course the deterrent is something that's always very, very imperative. And having an army doesn't mean that you're off to fight anywhere and go to wars and all these kind of things. It's about having a deterrent that's there in place, that is ready to go when called upon. And right now, we currently fall behind those requirements. So this spending is massively, massively needed. And this has, of course, caused a civil war. Labour MPs to turn on Keir Starmer's decision to delay the spending until 2030. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Let's carry on the conversation in the comment section below. We'll get involved in there with you guys. So do comment below. And do stick around, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and we'll be bringing you up to date with more stuff that's going on with the United Kingdom today. But I've been Dan, this has been British Dan, and I'll see you all next time. Take care. Peace.